Welcome to the Systems Edge podcast, where we're trying to have those conversations that usually happen behind closed doors. Honest conversations about operational challenges, what works, what doesn't work. And today I'm joined by Julie Smith. She's the practice manager at Harper and Company and the COO at Arrive, also co-host of an Empowering Entrepreneurs podcast. And Julie, thanks for being here today and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. As I was preparing for this today and reading the titles of all the things you're involved, your titles, I thought I had two thoughts. The first was, "Wow, Julie likes to stay busy," and the other one is I'm not even going to try to understand everything that the companies you do, and I'm just going to let you get into that. So why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself? Maybe not the LinkedIn version, maybe more off the cuff, kind of what your roles are, what they do, what that looks like on a daily basis, and maybe a little bit about the businesses, and certainly put a plug in for your podcast if you want.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I entered into this industry about 11 years ago, the accounting, CPA, finance industry, and quickly learned that wanted to do something completely different. And if you're in an accounting, people always say, like, well, whatever we did last year is what we're going to do this year. Like, I'm the complete opposite of that. Like, whatever we did last year, like, let's trash it and make it better. Um,
Love it.
so Glenn and I started Harper and Company, and we're a progressive, on kind of on the edge firm, just doing things differently. And quickly realized like I was made to make a bigger impact than just this firm. And, I'm always full of bright ideas or chasing what you would call the shiny object, just what can we do to make things bigger, better, different? And so started a consulting company, started speaking on stages like Thomson Reuters and going all around. And really, it just, I just want to make an impact. And COVID had this great idea to do this podcast, had another great idea that I feel like just 1040 taxes are really underserved. And so it was like, hey, wait, why can we not create a company and figure out how to do it better than everybody else? Created that company. I've always just, this driving force, this impact, this gut feeling of wanting to do something bigger and better. And that's where Arrive kind of came along. And it's, you talk about like the operations and the software development, and like you would think I'm crazy with doing what we've done in the last, 18 to 24 months. But it's like taking this industry that I work in has like you got to log into 52 different apps or 52 different softwares. Every single one of them has multi-factor because we're dealing with really sensitive information. And so then the multi-factor, and then, as soon as I get logged into one of them, I'm logged out at another one, then I got to reset my password. You know the trick. And
Yep.
so just really wanted to create that efficiency and create that impact where everything is an all-in-one. But then also in this industry, how do we use algorithms and how do we use AI? But AI within, some bounds, right? Sometimes people use AI and it's like all over the place to help efficiency and to create something that's a little bit shinier in this industry. As we all know, I forget the number, but people are mass exiting this industry. And so how do we create something where the next generation wants to come in and make an impact and do the work that, helps entrepreneurs, get to the next level. And so that's really where Arrive came from. So now it's just, delving out all the time all around, and also have two small kids. Well, they're not so small anymore, 9 and 12. So
Hmm.
we were joking before, I start my second shift of work of soccer practice and
Yes.
book fairs and whatever that is after this. And, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. That's appreciate. I mentioned this when we were talking earlier too about. I love your. I don't know if this is your tagline or if it's just something you came up with, put on your LinkedIn, but guiding firms to escape tech chaos. And I know as a software development company, we come in and 80% of what we do is an integration or automation because for all the reasons you just said. Um, but I'm also shocked at how hard it is to get companies on board with that idea. Maybe you are too. Is that something you see? Like you're like, it's so obvious to us, right? But like, is that your biggest challenge? Would you say?
I think change is hard. And I think especially in our industry where it's, kind of an older generation and, the newer generation's coming in and wants to adopt, but there's just this constant kind of some of this. And so I think it's how can you market it so that it's your software company also becomes change management, right? How can you go in and show the market proof of like, here's how this really works, and this is really what it's going to do to you? And I think that's where like Steve Gelly, the founder and CEO of Arrive, he's a practicing CPA. So you have someone who's a practicing CPA and you have someone who loves to run firms come together to create something. We're literally coming in and saying, I'm going to solve every single pain point that you've had in the last 10 years. Hand over the keys. I'm also going to make sure you have the right people in the right seats doing all the right things. And by the way, do you even have the ideal clients that you're looking for, or are you just doing whatever you did last year? So yeah, I definitely think software and that is it's all about that change management.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then no one better to do it than an accountant who is the person who's seeing how siloed information is more than anyone all the time. So I know that when executives come to us and we start, that's how we open up too. Like, what's your pain points? And most companies have can list off dozens of them. I know for us, it's where do you start? Where's the best bang for the buck, the ROI? So where do you tell them in that scenario, like where their starting point should be? Do you take that same approach? Like where the
Yeah, you
biggest
know,
bang for
it's
the buck
funny.
is?
I think when we go in, some of the first questions we ask are, could you give me an active client list? And it's so funny how many pause like, oh, well, and you're like, that's where we're gonna start. Is really like, who are your clients? Who are you serving? And you think you have 1100 in your tax software, but you're only completing 600 returns a year, could be a problem, right?
Yeah,
So I think that's where we go in and just it's just a simple question. What's your active client list? And accountants, CPAs, this industry advises clients all day long around what is the best practice to run your business. As an entrepreneur, like they could tell you exactly how to do it and what to do, but they forget to practice it themselves, right? Because they
right.
put so much effort into their clients. They're running the same business that they're advising their clients on, and it's hard.
Yep, yep. I think it's like a web developer who has a terrible looking website. Like, wait a
Yeah.
second, you can make pretty ones for other people. So, yeah. Oh, what pivot a little bit here. What percentage of businesses you work with, or in general, would you say could benefit from some kind of integration or automation? And maybe the answer is 100%.
Yeah, I think it is 100%.
Yeah,
I think people don't. So, when I go in and can do the consulting side of it, it's like people don't see their blind spots, right? Because they are so head down in their company. I think we get to talk to a lot of owner operators, not owner investors per se. And there's definitely a difference when it comes to being an entrepreneur as to that. And so I think, yeah, 100% are like, oh, I didn't even know you could automate. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Right. And it's like you're coming in just with this fresh perspective. And sometimes it's too overbearing, to be quite honest. Like, I get it. I'm like, okay, I have 3,000 ideas in my head. Like, okay, I got to take it down to like, what are the top three that are going to make the biggest impact in here? Yeah, I mean, I think 100%, especially when you're going into a firm or to a company from the outside, it's just a different, fresh perspective.
yeah, yeah. I know we mentioned this earlier too. We almost had a podcast before the podcast, just didn't record it. We're joking, but it's true, and we see this. Maybe I don't know what percentage you see, but businesses running their entire operations on spreadsheets, entire operations,
My
and
favorite.
you shake your head, and I will applaud them sometimes. I'll say, you know what, it's gotten you here, right? But
Yeah,
wow, so much opportunity, and then to tag along with what you just said in terms of in terms of they didn't even see that they could do that. I guess
yeah.
stopping is how do you get them to stop, to pay attention, right? To have the conversation. That's a little bit of the goal of this podcast. Let's just have these conversations that don't normally happen. How do you get them
I
to?
mean, I think you've just got to carve out. I mean, you and I are probably in the same boat too. It's like I go away like twice a year, like no phone, no email, just, asking the tough questions, just the planning, like letting those thoughts come into your head, right? And then what are you going to do with them? And I think we just, in today's society, we just don't take time to just think and sit with those thoughts, right? Because it's that constant hit of dopamine and it's like get back to some of those basics of like just sitting at your desk, turn off your computer, get out a notebook and just brainstorm like what's going right, what's going wrong, what needs to change, what's your 90-day goal, what's your 180-day goal, and then back into it with like each little step that you need to kind of take. And like all of a sudden you can plan out an entire year very strategically and very intently, and you're just not doing what's next or putting out the next fire. I think that often feels like as entrepreneur, as serial entrepreneur, I guess you could call me, is like I don't want to put out the fires. Like I want to be intentional and strategic around that, but I also want everybody around me to feel that, right? Because if that
Right.
instant like panic and you know that feeling when you're around someone that like they're just waiting for like they gotta go, like that doesn't feel good, right? And
Yeah.
so just stopping and just it doesn't take long to, I mean, it could be 20 minutes every morning, 20 minutes every week, whatever it is you decide to set aside, but really reflecting and having, I think it's that awareness, right? Around like, I'm not doing everything great. I'm not the smartest person out there. Somebody else is way better at things than I am.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. It's good stuff. It seems like it applies to so many areas of life besides business too.
Yeah.
Just stopping, taking a deep breath sometimes. But yeah, good stuff. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here and just, we talked a little bit about QuickBooks. I know that was kind of somewhat of the premise when we first talked, just accounting in general, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on QuickBooks? Good, bad, and online
You,
versus desktop? And
uh,
let loose if you go ahead and let us
yeah.
have it.
I think it's just this big beast out there that nobody, it's into it, right? They're big, they're huge. They have the money to put forth the research to be able to do. I think it's scary to me too to think how much data they own, like from a different perspective of that. Um, for us, we were chatting earlier, and it's like to be a Harper and Company client, it's in our engagement letter. You have to have a 12-month subscription to QuickBooks Online. I think there's a ton of products out there, and Arrive is working on making our own GL. But for the purpose of hearing the sentiment around the industry and what that means to them, and how can they overcome that, I'm just here to provide a solution. But for right now, QuickBooks provides that. I don't want my team having to learn 10 different ways of doing 10 different things. It doesn't really serve the efficiency. That's not a good business decision, on my end. um it's like a good and bad, right? It's like good and evil with QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online. There's no R&D going to QuickBooks Desktop. They're charging the same, I mean, essentially the same way of online. You can link everything on, like, I'm always dumbfounded when someone's still running it through desktop and they's like, well, you could just log into my server, log into my computer, and log on to QuickBooks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, do you just want me to drive to your office and like grab your computer for you? um so, it's just there's a different way of thinking in regards to that. Again, I think QuickBooks is good and evil. It's easy. It has all the R&D going to it. You can't compete with Intuit when it comes to that. But I definitely think the industry is looking, from my standpoint, the industry is looking for something different. And I think they're looking because they have the same sentiment I feel. Like it's big, it's huge, and is there something else out there that can better serve the industry? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hear him. I'm working on it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the whole point of, siloed information integration, trying to work with it, push information in and out of QuickBooks. That's what it's about. And on that note, when you talk to businesses, are there certain things you hear consistently where C-level executives are saying, "I wish I had a report that would give me X." Is that
I think a lot of C-level executives, minus the person that's the CFO or the accountant doing it, they want it in their language.
oh, that's a good point.
And they want to understand quick, very high points. Hey, everything looks good. Wait, why are expenses up 30%? Can we dive more into that? I think when you give a report, and I know QuickBooks is working on it, I've seen some things out there with it. It's like they're working on it, but at the same time, I think they they just want the high points. They want to know the changes, what is affecting them, where do their eyes need to go, where do their time and attention need to be. And I don't think we're quite there yet in regards to that. But I always say to my team, like, if you say something and I can understand it, the client will understand it. If you say something and I'm like eyes glazed over, no idea what you're talking about, like you've got to reframe it in a different perspective.
Do you get involved in creating custom reporting then for your clients from time to time?
Yeah, that's something that's like so another reason I started Arrive, right? It's like how do we get through that problem? How do we create something where something an entrepreneur like me can see something in real life and be able to understand it?
Yep.
Um, I think this is just like, yeah, it's such a funny thing about how this all came about. So like client portals inside Arrive are attached to QuickBooks, but they're attached to benchmarks and KPIs. So if you sit down and you're saying, hey, listen, I really want to cut my expenses by 30% this year, when you log in, you're seeing that visual right there. And it's like a graph, right? It's not numbers. You're not looking through the whole financial statement to find like what does that look like. And so I think for me that was again one of the other reasons that really put all this time and effort into Arrive because I want people to understand, I want entrepreneurs to understand and to be it's in QuickBooks that it's just feeding it daily, right? But to have that visual right there front and center, I think is important.
Yep. Yep. I like what you said as far as how the C-level executives need to have the high level, but they got to be able to dig when they want to dig for deeper information. And how do you provide? Yeah. So, what would you say the average size company you work with is then? Like, are they 10
Yeah, I'd say
employees, 50 employees, 100 employees?
I'd say the sweet spot's probably between 8 employees and 30-ish
Okay.
employees.
Okay.
I do have one now that's like 63, and that's just been so much fun. Um, yeah, I think that's really the sweet spot. And I think it's for me, it's where I can see the biggest impact the
Yeah.
quickest.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So you're truly working with small business, by definition, small businesses
Yeah.
in general. And it's very rewarding. Like you said, you can have a massive impact. And if you were to take and this may take us down the path of AI, and I definitely want to touch on it before we go here, but if you fast forward 3 to 5 years, what does accounting look like for these businesses? Is it the same? Is it different? And I know, well, I don't know. I'll let you just, I'll open ended. Take it where you want to take that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the data becomes very AI driven, but I don't think AI is at a point where it could take an accountant's brain and be able to do what needs to be done with that data. That there's a lot of value. There's a lot of expertise and knowledge and knowing like you hit X, we need to pull these three levers kind of thing. Or here's the three things I would tell you for a tax advantage standpoint that you should be doing. This one's the best, this one's this one you're gonna get the most bang for your buck kind of situation. I don't see AI being again, I could be completely off, but I still think clients will want the industry having those conversations, giving the explanation, being able to answer all those questions, facilitate some of those decisions. I see AI in my industry is driving the data to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really, yeah. Yeah. I'm not even going to, you said it better than I could even rephrase that. So I'll leave it like that. What are your thoughts on AI in general? I know it's an umbrella term and I know we deal with it every day here. We have 6 AIs that go into this podcast alone, just in terms of production, like in how
Yeah.
it all operates. Are you guys using it in any way? And
Yeah,
what are
I
your
mean, I
thoughts
use
on
it. Yeah, so Arrive is based on algorithms and AI. So, the firm uses it daily. I'm obviously integrated with it daily. I love ChatGPT. I love all of those things, right? It's like for me, I'm just a curious individual. So if you can give me all that information at my fingertips, and then if you can concise it and I don't have to go spend an hour to find the answer, I love that. I love it when I'm like really mad in an email and I can be like, please make this more professional and nice, right? Like, please tone it down. I think that's what it says to me. Would you like me to tone that down? Yes, please. Um, and I think that's where I really enjoyed the AI function. But I think for me, it's taking what it can do. I really love the algorithm point of that is like it studies what I do. It knows my next move. It knows what clients answer me at what time. Like it takes that thought process away from me. And what does that allow us as humans to be able to do? I know people like it allows us to do more. It allows us to be efficient, right? And I keep saying what did I say? I was in rehab for shiny object syndrome, but um
it? Yep.
I just think that's where we're going to see a huge impact. I mean, I think it's a lot more than that, but I think at this point in time, that's kind of where we're seeing it. I saw Elon Musk came out and what did I think he made some big overarching comment about AI was going to replace like literally all the jobs. We were going to all be able to like live off a homestead and plant gardens. Someone don't quote me on that, but that's kind of what I took out of it. It could have been a little bit different, and I don't know that I see it going quite that far.
Or at least not quite that fast. Yeah, because
I
I can
still
see a
think
day
we
at a.
like this.
I'm sorry, and go ahead, finish your thought there.
No, I just think we all still crave that human interaction. And like, I cannot, I mean, I love to read, I love to listen to podcasts. Like, you can give me information any way you want it, but like, I still crave that kind of ping pong conversation. And, I think it's interesting to learn everybody's, different opinions and different sides. And like, I'm not here to judge what anybody else's opinion is. Like, I just want to thoroughly understand and listen to what you have to say. I just don't know that we're going to get that with AI.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think he actually has said that before. Elon has said that's the biggest hole that we're going to have is this lack of meaning and purpose if we live in this age of abundance. So, can you see a day where down the road, call it 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it takes, where someone could take their business and dump everything there is about it, the numbers, what it does, and just give AI this incredible input and have it uncover all of these things that Arrive does, right? It says, here's your pain points, and you go, oh man, yeah, you're right. And it says, here's what needed to fix it, and here's start here. Like it seems like with an IQ of whatever it's going to have, it seems like it would have the ability at some point. So
Yeah, I think it will. I always like, what is the EQ though of AI? And I think that's also like one of my other questions of like, how can it, and then how do I know, how does it know your personality well enough to know that like your number one pain point is time? How do I give, you time back? How do I know your number one pain point is that you want more profit? I don't know. Like, how does it get to know in regards to like some of those just like high level EQ of listening? And maybe it will get there. But I also think humans have to have enough awareness to know that that's where they're going and what they're doing. I don't know that I feel like I work with enough people that would be able to get there, right? Like without being pushed, right? Without being coached or consulted in a way that they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. That like what I'm saying isn't true. Like what is the root? And I think that sometimes AI can't quite get
I
there.
think the phrase is getting to the heart of the situation. Like, how do I have a heart
Yes.
to heart conversation with AI to really know what my motives are, what's really moving me? And then again, I think, well, if someone's listening to me all day long and it can eventually figure it out, who knows? Who knows? Um,
Yeah.
that's good. I kind of like to end on AI terms, but I kind of want to add. I should backtrack here. I should have asked you this question earlier, but it's okay to end on this one. But I wanted to. I'll just say it this way. Lastly, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing about operations for people um, of that average client, what would it be?
It's gonna sound so I just think it's awareness. I feel like everybody, like we all have operational blind spots, right? But I think oftentimes people don't have enough awareness to like, I want to say like plug the hole before it sinks your ship.
Mm,
And, sometimes having tough conversations or having to make tough changes, people just avoid the hole. And when the hole gets too big, your ship is sinking and I can't plug like how do we plug that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That applies to so many things in life. So, Anna, that's just so good. That's really rich. Appreciate it. Um, well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for pulling back the curtain a little bit on your life. And I hopefully this is like one of those conversations that doesn't happen in the public forum. And I really appreciate you being here today. Um, give a plug once again. What's the name of your podcast? We'll throw that in at the end again.
So it's the Empowering Entrepreneurs podcast.
Perfect. And if someone wants to reach out to you, they can find you. What's your websites there? They can find.
Oh, you can find me on LinkedIn, list all my websites. I'm
There you
at
go.
Harper and Company CPAs Plus. You can find me at Arrive Accountants. So yeah.
Good. Wonderful. It's been really good. Thanks you. Have a great day.